Hi, I'm Tom, and in this video I will show you how to create and work with curtain walls in FreeCAD, such as this one. Curtain walls are quite often used in modern architecture, and FreeCAD has a tool to create these structures. I'm using FreeCAD 1.0 in this tutorial. So for the demonstration, I have this sample file prepared with some objects, but first let me create a curtain wall from scratch. So if I have nothing selected and I click on this curtain wall tool, I'm asked for the first point and second point. So I can click here as the first point and I can click here as the second point. And you can see that the curtain wall is created. And as a standard wall, it's based on a line object. Curtain walls can be based on a draft line objects or sketch objects, or curtain walls can also be based on a face object. So let me show another way how to create a curtain wall. I have here a line object created, and if I select it and click the curtain wall tool, the curtain wall is created from the line object. Now here is another case where I have sketch as a base object, but as of FreeCAD 1.0 I first have to create face out of this sketch. In FreeCAD 1.1 you will be able to create curtain wall directly from the line, but here I have to create a face, so I will use the extrude tool and extrude along and make the height 3000 millimeters, hit OK. So I have the face created, the extrusion. Now if I select the extrusion and use the curtain wall tool, it creates the curtain wall from the face shape. Now here, this is a sketch with a multiple lines. And if I extrude this one, and I will make it, let's say 4000 millimeters high, and if I would create curtain wall from this object, it creates a curtain wall from each face of the object. So this might be useful if you want to create more curtain walls in your floor plan as a one object. So this is the basics of creating curtain walls, and let me get back to this first simple curtain wall that I created. And you can see that we have got the mullions, vertical and horizontal, and we have got the panel. But what if I wanted to have more mullions and more panels? How would I do that? I can achieve that by selecting the curtain wall and going to the data properties of the object. And you can see here under the curtain wall group, there's lots of parameters concerning horizontal mullions, diagonal mullions, and then vertical mullions. And what's important for us is number of vertical sections. Here it's 1, and if I change it to 2, the curtain wall will be divided into 2 sections. If I change it to 3, the curtain wall is divided into 3 sections by the mullions. And you can also see that if I wanted to create a horizontal mullion here, I would change the number of horizontal sections to 2. Now with these mullions, you can see that here they are overlapping each other, and here. To avoid this, we can choose in the properties to refine the mullions. So if I change the refine property to true and redraw the project, you can see that the mullions are not tidied up like so. The only problem is with these corner mullions where they create this detail which is not too nice, but we have to live with it in FreeCAD 1.0. Now you can change the profile size of a mullion, and in this case, if here I have vertical mullion height, which is profile height, and vertical mullion width, which is profile width. So if I change this to 100 millimeters, you can see that the vertical mullions have different width. And if I would also change the profile height 150, it changes the basically the depth. It's not the height. So you can change mullion profiles like so. And if I wanted to change the horizontal ones so that they have, let's say, the same depth, I will change it to 150 also here in horizontal mullion. So you can change the basic shape of the mullions in the properties of the curtain wall. What's also important is the panel depth. So if I select the curtain wall, you can see in the properties panel thickness. It's set to 20 millimeters. If I set my view to the top and I change the view style to wireframe, you can see that this is the panel thickness. And if I change it to panel thickness to 10, you can see that it's changed to 10. If I would change it to very thick to 50, the panel changes accordingly. So let me switch back to the default drawing mode, and I have shown you how to change the mullion size, but sometimes the mullions have quite complex shapes. So how can I create a different shape than a rectangular shape of the mullion? I will show it to you on this curtain wall, and I will just change vertical sections to 2 and horizontal sections to 4. And let's say I wanted to have the horizontal mullion a circular profile. So what I will do is I will create a 2D face with the size of the profile that I want to have, and then I will assign it to the mullion. So in the top view, anywhere in your drawing, I will create a, let's say, a circle. And it's important that the circle is filled. It has to be a face. And I will create a circle with a radius of, let's say, 25 millimeters. So this is the face. And now in my curtain wall, for the horizontal mullion, here I have horizontal mullion profile. If it's empty, it's creating the default rectangular shape, but I can click here, click on the 3 dots, and in my project, I will select this object, which is the circle. So I will select the circle, hit OK, and now when I redraw the project, you can see that the horizontal profiles are circular profile. And it's still dependent on this object. So if I change the radius of the circle to 10 millimeters, you can see that the mullions change accordingly. So if I had this in my project now, I could hide the circle because I don't want to, I want to have just the mullions there. Now you can also use a sketch to create profiles, which might be also useful. So if I create a new sketch, and I will go to where the beginning, and I will create a polyline, and I will just quickly draft a profile like so. And let's make this one horizontal and this one vertical, and I would close the profile. Now it's again important, if I would use this sketch as a mullion profile, it does not create face, so I have to first create a face out of this sketch. And I will do that by going to the part workbench, which is meant for working with sketches, and I have the sketch selected, and I will use this tool part make face. This makes face out of the sketch. So now I can use this face as a profile object for the mullion. So I will go back to my draft workbench and select this curtain wall, and for the vertical mullion profile, I will click here, click these three dots, and select the face object. It's important not to select the sketch object, but the face object. Hit OK, and now if I redraw the file, you can see that the profile is used, the one that I sketched up. And of course, if I change the sketch, if I change the original sketch, I will zoom in here, and let's say I will make this one like so. I will move it. Okay, let's move this one, so I will make it thicker. Hit close. Now you can see that the mullion changes according to how I changed the sketch. So this is quite neat. Now what's also important to note is if I have this curtain wall, these are 3 curtain wall panels, and if I change the horizontal sections to 3, now each of the section is changed to 3 sections, so I cannot change them individually. Now, so far, we have been creating curtain walls, which are divided by mullions in a symmetrical way. But let's say I wanted to create a curtain wall, which has this horizontal mullion up here, only 500 millimeters high, and these 2 mullions should be closer to the outer edge. How would I do that? I would do that by using the grid object, and then I will create curtain wall out of the grid object. So let's do that. To create a grid object, I will just click on the arch grid object, and it creates in my project tree a grid. I will hide this face, and this grid is by default placed at the beginning, at the point 0, 0, 0, at the beginning of the Cartesian coordinate system. So, but currently the grid is kind of empty, and if I double click it, I can set up how the grid looks. First, what it's important is set the total width and the total height. So let's say the total width, I will type in 6,000 millimeters, and the height I will make it 4,000 millimeters high. And here I set up how the grid looks, because if I think if I hit OK, oh, nothing is still visible. So I can add rows and add columns. So I will add 2 rows and 3 columns. And if I hit OK, you can see that now we have got this grid object. And this grid object is divided symmetrically, but we want to change that. So I will double click the grid again to edit it, or you can also right click and go to the edit mode. It's the same. And here are millimeters, which tell me how far this row or this column is from the left side or from the top side. So I wanted to have this one 1000 millimeter from the side. So I will double click this value and type in 1000, hit OK, and I will also double click this one and type in 1000 and hit OK. And this means that these columns will be 1000 millimeters wide, and this, which has left 0, will be calculated automatically to the total width of 6000 millimeters. So now if I hit OK, you can see that I've got this curtain wall shape which I wanted to. Now I want to move this mullion up to here. So I will again double click the grid, and here I will change this value to 500, and this is calculated automatically from the total height. So if I hit OK, this is the curtain wall shape that I want to, but the grid is by default placed at the XY, global XY axis. So I want to rotate it. So I will select the grid, right click, and use the transform tool. And this shows this rotating gizmo. And if I rotate it around the red axis, the x-axis, I will click this ball and drag my mouse, and it moves in increments of 5 degrees, which you can see at the bottom left corner. So I will move it by 90 degrees, like so, and hit OK. And now if I look at it from the top, you can see that the curtain wall was moved below, but for now it does well. Let's move it to the zero level, zero height. So I will select the grid and use the move tool, and I will select that I want to move this bottom left. I will deselect this option, snap working plane, and I have just snap endpoint selected. So I will snap this endpoint, and now I want to move this endpoint to the zero level. So I will uncheck relative and hit Z. So I'm moving it only in the Z axis, and because it's not relative, I want to move it to the global 0. So I will type in 0, hit enter, and it's moved into global 0 level. I have a separate tutorial on how to use move tool, so you can check that out. It will be in the link in the description box. So now we have got the grid placed at the correct position. Now to create curtain wall out of this grid, I will just select it and use the curtain wall tool, and this automatically creates curtain wall out of the base grid object. And you can see the mullions are placed how I define the grid. And I can still edit the grid and change the values. So and the curtain wall adjusts automatically. So I could also, let's say if I edit a row, it will be actually placed at the top, so I have to reshuffle it. So this one will be 1000, and let's make this one also 1000. Let's make it like so I can add another row or column. Now what if I wanted to have this panel as a long one without these vertical mullions? How would I do that? In the grid editing mode, what I can do is with control, I can select multiple cells like this. So I will select these three cells, and I can create a span. This span, it joins those selected cells into one. And if I hit OK, you can see that now here, this is just one panel, but the panel is not displayed. This is a bug of FreeCAD 1.0. It's solved already in FreeCAD 1.1. When that will be released, the panel will be visible here. So once FreeCAD 1.1 is released, you should install it as soon as possible to make this available. Now, if I want to get rid of this one panel and have those three panels there, I can select the span and choose to remove the span. So I will remove the span, and you can see it here. So now it's the original grid. Now I've shown you how to change the height of the curtain wall based on the grid, but if you have this curtain wall based on a line, you can change the height of the curtain wall in the properties. And here is the height property, and if I change it to 6000 millimeters, the height is changed accordingly. Okay, so this is the basics of geometric creation of curtain walls. And let's now take a look at the materials. You can see that by default, the curtain wall has a material for panels and materials for mullions, a default material. But what if you want to change this material? I have prepared here two materials, a blue material and red transparent material, so it will be visible clearly. And to use material on a curtain wall, we have to create a multi-material. So to create a multi-material, I will click on the material tool, and here I will click on create new multi-material, and I will name it multi-material curtain wall, like so. And here in the setup, I will add two materials. One will be for mullions and one for the panels. So this first layer will be the frame, that's the mullion. And the material, I will click here and choose the blue material. I don't have to assign thickness. And in the next layer, it will be a glass panel. And the material will be red transparent material. I will hit OK, so the multi-material is created. Now if I select this curtain wall, and in the properties, in the component properties, there's a material property, and I will click here these three dots and choose the multi-material, hit OK, and now it's redrawn, and you can see the panel material is the red transparent, and the mullion materials is the blue material that I selected. One more thing of the basics is you can create curtain wall also out of organic shapes. So if I have this spline here and I create a curtain wall out of it, by default it's straight, but if I select the curtain wall and I change the number of vertical sections to 6, you can see that it will follow the shape of the base object. So you can see that it's trying to follow the spline shape. Okay, so we know all of the basics, and let me now show you here on this example how to create a curtain wall like this, which is asymmetrical. These panels are higher than the bottom ones, and this middle part is wide enough just for the door, and it has got also door placed inside of the curtain wall. So I will now show you how to create curtain wall like this. So first I need to measure the basic size of the wall. So I will select this edge and use the measure tool, and I can see that the width is 9500 millimeters. I will reset and select just this edge, and I can see that the height is 4500 millimeters. So this will be the basic size of my curtain wall. I will close the measurement tool and create a grid object, and I will go to the edit mode of this grid object, and the total width was 9500 millimeters and total height 4500 millimeters. And I remember that I wanted to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So I will add our columns. So I will add 5 columns and I will add 2 rows as a basic shape. So I will hit OK. And let me just rename the grid wall 01. And the grid, as I told you previously, it's placed at the beginning of my Cartesian system. So I will hide this curtain wall, and this is the grid. So I will again select it, right click, and choose transform and rotate it like so, 90 degrees. Okay. And now again, let's place it where it should be really placed. So I will select the grid, use the move tool, make sure that I have just the endpoint, snap to endpoint selected, and I will select this endpoint and I will place the grid to this corner. So now I can see that the grid fits the place that I have in my structure for it. And so that I see it clearly, let me hide the interior walls so I can see the grid nicely. So now I want to change the spacing. So I will double click the grid. And for the height of the bottom part, I want it to be 2100 millimeters high, and I want to have this middle part just 1100 millimeters wide. 1100 millimeters wide. So this will be basically here. This will be the shape of the door. So I will hit OK. So this is the basic grid. And now I can go ahead and create the curtain wall out of this grid. So I will select the grid, create the curtain wall, and I will name it, so I know that it's the curtain wall that I'm working on, curtain wall W01. So first off, you can see what I want to do is refine those mullions. So I will go to the options, and in the curtain wall options I will select the refine to be true. And you can see here that if I'm placing the curtain wall like this, the mullions are actually aligned, the center is aligned to the size of the mullions, so these are a bit overlapping into the wall. But this is actually fine for me because this will hide this this detail, which is not that nice. But the curtain wall is now sticking outside of the wall, so I want to move it in that direction. So I will select the curtain wall, use the move tool, and I will switch back on relative. This is quite important, and I will click here, move my mouse this way, hit shift, release shift, and in the local Y I will move it 100 millimeters inside, so it's inset into the construction of the building. So the basic of the curtain wall is created, but now I want to place doors instead of this panel. How will I do that? I will first create a standard door. So I will use the door tool, and from the pre-selects I will select the glass door. And what's important is this overall width and height, and also you can set up the depth of the frame. So I will actually, the W1 is the overall depth. I will leave it 100, so it's more deep than the depth of the mullions. And I will place the door here outside. So I've got this glass door prepared, and I will name it door curtain wall 01. Now I want to match the width and the height of the door to this space, so I will measure it, the distance between these two mullions. So I will select these edges and use the measure tool. So the width is 1050 millimeters and the height I will reset, and I will select this edge and control select this edge, and it's 2075. You can see the delta Z. This one is align distance, so 2075 is the height. So I will close the measure tool, select the door, and in the properties I will change the width to 1050 millimeters, and for the height I will change it to 2075 millimeters. So now it should fit this space. Now I will move the door so it's placed in this space. So actually I will change the draw style to wireframe, look from the top view, select the door, and now I will actually turn on snap to working plane so it doesn't move in the Z direction. And I will use the move tool and snap this point and move it to, I will snap to this point. You can see that the door is offset. I could have changed the depth of the door. I will actually change the, I will actually check the opening that it's to inside. So now it's placed here, and if I change the draw mode, you can see that the door is placed in the correct place, and it's fitting the size as I wanted to. But we have one problem, and that is that the door is actually overlaying it's not creating the opening in the wall. There's still the curtain wall panel. So how can we actually create the opening? Once FreeCAD 1.1 is available, you will be able to do that by selecting the door and with control selecting the curtain wall and using the arch add component as with the default, as with the standard wall. But as of FreeCAD 1.0, this is not available, so we will have to do it a bit more complicated, and that's to select the door, and in its properties, and it's actually in the window group properties, and it's the host property, and here I will select which host it should be, and I will select the curtain wall W01 as a host, hit OK, and now you can see that the file is redrawn and the door is hosted by the wall. And if I hide the door, you can see that the opening is there, so it's creating the opening. So this is how it should be. Now the default glass panel material is a bit different from the curtain wall material, as you can see here. So if we wanted to have the same material set up for the curtain wall and the door, which is usual, we will select the curtain wall and assign the material which we have, the curtain wall material. It's a bit wild material, but nevertheless, and also select the door and change the material here so it will be the same, and so both the door and the curtain wall have got the same materials assigned. Okay, so this is a practical example of how you can create a curtain wall with a door. Now you have all the knowledge to create curtain walls in your projects. If you want to support the further development of the curtain wall tool, consider donating to the FreeCAD project. The link to the donate page is in the description box below. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.